welcome to today's episode. In this video, we talk about the basic literary terms. Basic literary terms is important in appreciating the work of literature. When we talk about basic literary terms, it simply means the techniques or figurative devices employed by writers in order to convey their message home. It also enables writers and listeners. It helps them to appreciate the work of literature and also improve their critic mind. Now we're going to talk about the basic literary terms in literature. Number one is the word called dilemma. When you talk about the word dilemma, it simply means when a character is placed in two difficult situations, and at the end, you have to choose one out of the whole thing. For example, if a robber barges into your home and give you a gun to shoot your mother, or they shoot you. In this situation, you have to take one out of it. Now, when you are placed in two difficult situations that you have to choose one out of it, you are placed with what? Dilemma. So you're experiencing or you're using a device called what? Dilemma. And in some novels and literary work, you see such situation occurring. Number two is rhetoric. When you talk about the word rhetoric simply means the art of using words persuasively in order to make an emphasis or to make your audience to be inquisitive or to push them to action. This rhetoric is usually used whenever you want to go on a protest. Sometimes you will hear people say, do you want to die in anguish? Our government are not doing the right thing. Shall we live and allow them to kill us one day? This makes your audience or your listener to want to follow your orders and command. Number three is imagery. When we talk about the word imagery, it simply means the art of creating a mental picture in the minds of the audience. For example, if you are reading a prose work or a novel, as an example, or if you are reading a play, sometimes what enables the directors to direct or to give them what we call a good setting, what helps the stage manager to make the stage or to build the stage is imagery. Because as you are reading that work of literature, you begin to have a mental picture of how Mr. Bloodshot had looked like. Sometimes when you are reading a novel or you're reading a play, you find out that you begin to see the beauty of a description, maybe the beauty of a beautiful woman. Or when they talk about a particular character, with the description, you can be able to figure out how this person looked like. The next one is allegory. When we talk about allegory, it simply means when you use abstract characters as what? Character, or abstract things as characters in a play. For example, if you have read a book called by Anonymous, Every Man, this writer employs the use of love, five senses, and all these things are not human. They are abstract things, like a kind of, you are using abstract noun, that is ideas, in order to portray your story, and also to depict a particular thing you want to address. The next one is satire. Satire is usually used, especially by comedians or comic characters. When you talk about this satire, it is the art of criticizing. It is the art of using wit and a kind of, you want to criticize the situation of an institution in order to improve it. When you use satire, you are trying to correct an impression, but you are not saying it in a serious way, but rather you say it in a humorous way in order to induce laughter and also to pass your information across to your reader. Then the next one is aphorism. When you talk about aphorism, aphorism is a short-winded saying that is true. For example, of an aphorism is action speaks louder than words. That's it. The next one is pun. When we talk about pun, it simply means playing upon words. When a writer tries to play upon words, for example, ism to ism as ism and ism to ism. Another example is power and power shall power nobody, but the powerful power of a laborer. Now you can see that the writer uses the word power to play upon what? Words. That is what we call what? Pun. The next one is flashback. When we talk about flashback, we try to recall an incident that have happened in the past. For example, if you have read the work of Olarutsumi, where he narrated the ordeals of Odewale. When Odewale was born, it was prophesied that he was predestined to kill his father and marry his mother. But one of the king's advisor, Bonka, was given the child to kill, but rather he saved the child. At the end, this child grew up and fulfilled his ordination. He fulfilled his destiny. Now, when Bonka was called upon as an old man, he began to recall what has already happened. So your ability to recall an incident in the past to the present in order to solve an existing problem is what we call flashback. The next one is foreshadowing. From the word foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is the opposite of flashback. Now, when you say foreshadowing, it simply means you are predicting what will happen in the future. For example, you can say, oh, I assume that this man will kill his father. Is what? Is a foreshadowing. In some books, you will find out that they usually employ this device in order to talk about a future incident that have not occurred, but in their own subconsciousness, they assume that this incident have 100% possibility of occurring. The next one is setting. When we talk about setting has to do with the time and the locale where an incident happened. For example, if you have read any play or a novel, you find out that you can see in the village in Bulgarian army, that in Bulgarian land, like in Benashos and Zanzibar, you see them talking about some cities and weather conditions. They can talk about something could be an economic situation of a particular place. It also showcases the period and the time. So when you are reading a work of art and you find out that when they talk about all these things I have mentioned, it is what we call the setting. That is to say that setting is the background of a work of art. The next one is plot. What is a plot? A plot is the arrangement of an event in a sequential manner. It exposes how an event leads to another. For example, when you read a particular work, sometimes the writer might use a flashback from the beginning, use foreshadowing at the middle, or whatever technique he wants to employ. But after reading this work, when you are called upon to tell the story, you are not going to start the same way the story started. You are going to have a good narrative. You are going to narrate from the beginning to the end. That is what we call plot. Then we have another one we call synopsis. We usually see synopsis in dramatic performances when you have a brief summary of what the play or the novel is all about. Now, the difference between synopsis and plot plot is bigger than synopsis. For example, if you go for a show, maybe it's a theatrical performance, you find out that in the pamphlet that is given to you, you can see a brief narrative about this play. It's not that in plot, in synopsis, they're not giving you the rundown of the storyline, but they're giving you a hint of what will happen in the story. But in plot gives you the whole narrative. It gives you all the information needed in that story. So today we have come to the end of this course.